We're going to talk a little bit about the rise of deep fakes, and I'll also share with you ways in which you can spot fake news. So what is a deep fake? Deep fakes are synthetic media in which a person in an existing image or video is replaced with someone else's likeness. This next video does an excellent job of explaining and demonstrating what deep fakes are and how they're made.
Hello. Today, I'm going to be talking to you about a new technology that's affecting famous people. Remember when Obama called Trump a dipshit?
Complete dipshit.
Or the time Kim Kardashian rapped?
Because I'm always half naked.
Or when Arnold Schwarzenegger impersonated himself?
Get out of there, there's a bomb in there. Get out!
Deepfake, deepfake, deepfake.
Gotta be kidding.
This is a deepfake too. I'm not Adele, but I am an expert in online manipulation. So deepfakes is a term that's used to describe video or audio files that have been created using artificial intelligence.
My favorite is probably Lisa Vanderpump.
It started as a very basic face swapping technology, and now it's turned into film-level CGI. There's been this huge explosion of like, oh my goodness, we can't trust anything. Yes, deepfakes are eerily dystopian, and they're only going to get more realistic and cheaper to make. But the panic around them is overblown. In fact, the alarmist hype is possibly more dangerous than the technology itself. Let me break this down. First, what everyone is freaking out about is actually not new. It's a much older phenomenon that I like to call the weaponization of context, or shallow fakes, with Photoshop and video editing software.
There's so many needs.
How about the time Nancy Pelosi appeared to be drunk while giving a speech?
But you never know with this president of the United States.
Turns out that video was just slowed down at 75%.
It was very strange.
You can have a really simplistic piece of misleading content that can do huge damage. For example, in the lead up to the midterms, we saw lots of imagery around this caravan of people who were moving towards the US. This photo was shared with captions demonizing the so-called migrant caravan at the US-Mexico border in 2018. But a reverse image search showed it was actually Pakistani refugees in Greece. You don't need deep fakes, AI technology to manipulate emotions or to spread misinformation. This brings me to my second point. What we should be really worried about is the liar's dividend. The lies and actions people will get away with by exploiting widespread skepticism to their own advantage. So remember the Access Hollywood tape that emerged a few weeks before the 2016 election?
And when you're a star, they let you do it. You can do anything.
Around that time, Trump apologized, but then more recently, he's actually said, oh, I'm not sure if I actually said that. When anything can be fake, it becomes much easier for the guilty to dismiss the truth as fake. What really keeps me awake at night is less the technology, it's how we as a society respond to the idea that we can't trust what we see or what we hear. So if we are fear-mongering, if we are hyperbolic, if we are waving our hands in the air, that itself can be part of the problem. You can see where this road leads. As public trust in institutions like the media, education, and elections dwindles, then democracy itself becomes unsustainable. The way that we respond to this serious issue is critical. Partly this is the platforms thinking very seriously about what they do with this type of content, how they label this kind of content. Partly it's the public recognizing their own responsibility. And if you don't know 100% hand on heart this is true, please don't share, because it's not worth the risk.
Let's break down how we can spot fake news. First, consider the source of the article. Check the author. Check the date. Many stories get recycled. You might be reading an article that was from 5 years ago and is no longer accurate. Check your biases. This is really important and for most people difficult to do. Consider if your own beliefs could affect your judgment. Read beyond the headline. As we talked about earlier with clickbait, many headlines are simply outrageous, and its goal is to have you click on the article. See if there's supporting sources for the article that you're reading. Is it a joke? If it's too outlandish, it may be satire. Do a little research on the author to make sure. If you have any doubts about the article, ask the experts. Do more research. There are also excellent fact-checking websites out there that I'll be sharing with you later in this seminar. Next is a video from the News Literacy Project, whose goal is to help educate people on fake news, how to recognize it, so that you can make sure you're getting what's real.
Have to become digital detectives. The first is, where is this information coming from? A lot of fake news sites try to create a URL which is similar to a URL of a publication that you might know and you might be familiar with. Ultimately, the best way to understand whether or not a site is trustworthy is to actually read the content on the site. Not just one article on it, but other articles, and see, do they meet the standards of quality journalism? And if it makes you really angry or really sad or it makes you burst out laughing, that's actually a red flag to you because it's kind of short-circuiting your logic center or your ability to think. I can look up the author of that article. I can see the other things that they've written. Is there an author of the article? Because that's an important tip in helping us figure out whether or not this piece of information is actually real and trustworthy. If I read something that says, scientists say that chocolate cake makes you smarter. Well, what scientists? And what exactly did they say? One of the ways in which rumor spreads is that a lot of people keep repeating the same information, but nobody has verified it. So journalists depend on high quality sources, so experts. How did you come across this information? How do you know that this information is true? Someone takes that photo that maybe 3 years ago and say, this is happening right now. We saw a lot of that during the recent hurricanes. Using a reverse image search on Google can tell you where that image has appeared before and who has shared it. That can give you important tips as to whether or not the image is original, whether or not the image is in its original context. Really important context because context is very funny. This is what we have to do. We try to drill down a little bit deeper than that first tweet that tells you that chocolate cake makes you smarter.